Hello, creative friends. This is Joy. So, I decided that I wanted to create a mixed media journal, and the quickest way to do that is with a box because it already has the shape of a journal and the size. And I have a lot of boxes that have been saved, and so I just went through to find one that's the size that I want to make this journal out of. And so here I'm just cutting off the flaps and the extra side there. And I've made a lot of these journals and posted them online on my YouTube channel. So this is just a repeat of other journals that I've also made and posted. Um, so you may have seen others, but maybe there's other people out there that haven't seen the ones that I've posted previously. So here I'm just using some Fabri-Tac glue because I want to take that side that I cut off and put it on the spine to give the spine a little bit of extra thickness and support there. And I want to use the Fabri-Tac glue because I've used double-sided tape in the past on the spine, and it really mucks up your all when you go to punch your holes and your needle because I plan on sewing the signatures in, and it mucks up your needle. And I mean, you can clean it off the sticky stuff off of those with some alcohol, but it's a real royal pain in the butt. So I decided to go ahead and just glue it and set it aside to let it dry. I went through my scrapbook paper and I picked out what scrapbook paper I wanted to use on this journal. And so here is just a 12 by 12. I'm cutting it in half to be 6 by 6. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought, oh, I need to cut a little bit more off. And no, I did not. I should have left that little extra on there because I didn't even think, oh, you got to fold it over the edge, duh. So these actually ended up not as wide as I wanted them to be, or at least they would have been fine. So I didn't need to do that. So that was like, something that I regret, but it still worked out in the end. And of course, I'm using double-sided tape because it's just the quickest way to, put these papers on here and get a journal, create a journal. Um, and I wanted to create a journal for mixed media. A lot of the journals that I've created were more like a writing journal. And I had a lot of pockets and, tucks and paper clips and ephemera and stuff like that, and lots of area to write and journal and stuff. And there's a lot of pages, so you could still add some things to those journals, but not a lot because they're pretty well packed as it is. So a mixed media journal, if you're going to plan on using a lot of uh, mixed media items in your journal, then you want to make sure that you put less pages so that whenever it starts to bulk up, it doesn't get, too bulky or over bulk with all the stuff that you put into it. And so here I'm just gluing or taping these two pieces of scrapbook paper, and I'm cutting off the corners, and then I'm going to fold up the edges and then tape those down as well. So that's what I'm doing here. And to be honest, um, I actually started out creating in this journal once I got it completed, doing December Ember pages, but come to find out with what I created for December Ember, it already made this journal so thick that I ended up cutting those pages out of this journal and putting it in its own journal. So I posted that video last week showing you just a flip through of my December Ember journal that I created out of a paper bag, and the pages that how I decorated the pages for that. And then what I did was I replaced what I cut, the pages I cut out of this journal for December that I put into that one. I just replaced them with the same pages that I had in the other signatures. So here is what I'm going to put on the spine. So I cut that to size, and then I'm using double-sided tape on the edges there. But I have to be honest with you. The double-sided tape I thought for sure, because it is pretty good tape. And here, yeah, I was like, no, you need to use Fabri-Tac. I thought it was pretty good tape and would hold the scrapbook paper, but it actually started pulling up. And so even on the edges there, I had to put a bead of Fabri-Tac underneath along each edge because they were still pulling up. This particular scrapbook paper, maybe it might not have happened if it was thinner scrapbook paper, but this scrapbook paper is Tim Holtz and it's very thick. And even though here I'm trying to fold, put creases in it and fold it, and here I cut off any excess, and then I'm like cutting off where it would bulk up. Even though I did all of that, it still, for some reason, was wanting to, like I said, pull away, or pull up. The tape wasn't really holding it as well as I thought it would hold. But in any case, once I added a bead of Fabri-Tac along the edge, then it seemed to be fine. Here I decided to go ahead and use double-sided tape to tape these down, because there's the holes that I'm going to be putting in the spine will not be this close to the edge. So I figured, well, I should be fine just using double-sided tape to tape this edge down, the edges down, for this scrapbook paper that I'm putting on the spine. And I didn't really, when I cut the flaps off of this box, apparently did not cut it very evenly across the top, and I kind of got a little bit of an unevenness across the top. And of course, it's on the front cover, which is a little irritating. So I'm just like, oh my God, whatever. I'm just over it. So it didn't turn out as perfectly as I would have hoped, but it's still fine, and I'm still going to use it for a mixed media journal. And here I decided to use this on the inside flap, so I'm just cutting this down to the size that I need to cover the inside of this journal. And so that's what I'm going to use on the front and back, and I'm just trying to figure out, how much do I need to cut these down to fit. And so those, once I got them cut down to size, and looks like I'm trying to cut it down a little bit further, and then put those on, and you'll see actually, oh my gosh, this double-sided tape is brutal. um, it is so sticky that, and here I'm going to use the same paper that I used on the outside for the inside on the spine. But this double-sided tape is so darn sticky. I put the back, I taped down the back one first. Well, first of all, I glue down, I believe, the paper on the spine, but I wanted to, because there's going to be that cardboard showing, I decided to cover it with a marker, black marker, which I guess I didn't need to because the paper I'm using is vintage, kind of vintagey, and so I mean it would have been fine if I you could still see the cardboard underneath. But anyway, there's been times where I've made journals and I didn't like being able to see the cardboard, and then I would try to come back with a little tiny paintbrush and some either white or black or something and try to paint. So I just decided, oh, I'm going to be smart this time and try to cover those creases up. So once I stick everything down, then I won't see the cardboard, and I won't have to try to go back later and cover it up. So here I'm using double-sided tape for those sides, and again, like I said, I wanted to glue this piece on the spine, and I'm just using Fabri-Tac glue to glue down this paper on the spine. And this worked really good. I really prefer doing the gluing on the spine. And I could have actually did a glue, use the Fabri-Tac for everything, for the covers, for the inside and outside and all that. But I just, like I said, thought, well, it'd be quicker just to use double-sided tape. So anyway, I got the back cover on, but when I went to put the front cover on, I got it crooked. But then at the same time, and here, I'm like, oh, I need to peel it up because it's crooked. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to worry about it. But then I did go back later because it was really bugging the crap out of me that it was crooked. I tried not to let it bother me, but I couldn't help myself. So what I did to try to get the double-sided tape because when I tried to pull up, I mean, it was stuck. I'm like, I'm going to tear this. And I've done it many a times. I ended up tearing my scrapbook paper trying to pull stuff up because it didn't go down very good, correctly or whatever, straight. So what I ended up doing is I used my heat tool. I heated the tape up and slowly tried, to inch by inch, heat the top up, on top of it and underneath it, and get it to peel up. And I did get it to peel up, and I got a little straighter, but it still looks crooked because I didn't quite cut the cardboard straight. So these are my pages that I've decided on and the order I'm going to put them in. So I decided to do 5 signatures with 5 pages each. So I figured you don't want to sit and watch me fold paper. So that's what I did. And then here I'm trying to figure out to make my template for where I'm going to punch my holes. And I always like to use an odd number because it's easy to divide, something in half. So I'm like, looked at how wide my spine was. I divide that in half, and then, I divided the one side for 2 more and the other side for 2 more. So that way I have the middle and then 2 on one side and 2 on the other. So that's what, I just, how I figured out where I'm going to put my holes, and then I drew a line, and then so that would be my 5 signatures that I'm going to put in here. And actually, when you create one of these templates, you can always save them and reuse them. I actually got quite a few of them saved, and I probably already have one that'll fit this journal, but I didn't do it or look to see. And so then across, I always go like an inch from the top, inch from the bottom, and then wherever the middle is. So that seems to work good for me. And so here I'm just taking off the excess paper, and then I'm going to line this up on my spine, and I figured it would help to clip it so it doesn't move, because you don't want it to move. So once I get it lined up on my spine where I want it to be and clipped so it doesn't move, I put foam underneath, which is just some packaging that I got. I don't even remember what from, but it works. And then I go through and punch all of my holes. So wherever the lines cross, that's where you punch your holes. And I, always just do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. It's easy, it's quick, it's easy. So that's what I like to do. And here I'm just going back through the other side and trying to just kind of make the holes a little bigger, because the needle that I use is a fairly thick needle, and I don't like struggling with trying to get, you know, the needle through the holes. So that's what I'm doing there. And now I take my template and my signatures and I paper clip the pages together. And here I'm just getting out my paper clips. I go and I paper clip the pages. I make sure that they're even. I paper clip them, and then I use my template to punch my holes in the same location. And I always put on the top of my template there, I'll put a T so I know what's the top. And I always make sure that, I keep my signatures with the top up and in the right order. Um, that helps. I mean, if you kind of get them all mixed up, it could potentially cause an issue. And I've never had an issue because I always, like I said, put a T for the top and make sure that I keep all of my signatures once I punch the holes with the tops up. So and put them into the journal with the tops up. So that way I don't have any issues. But you can potentially have issues if you get them mixed up. So here, like I said, I just continue to punch the holes through the signatures in the same location as the holes that I did for the spine. So then I got some waxed embroidery floss, and I always measure 2 lengths of the spine and a little bit more, so you got enough left over to tie your knot. And I go ahead and cut 5 strands of the waxed floss here. And then I get my needle, and like I said, it's a fairly thick needle, but because I've struggled with trying to use smaller needles, and it's just a pain. So I use a big one with a big eye, and then I go through the middle and I pull it so that there's just a little bit of a tail, enough to be able to tie a knot. I go through the top, then go down through the bottom, and then come back up through the middle. And when you come back up through the middle, you want to make sure that you have one string on one side and the other string on the other. And the one that's going from top to bottom is in between the 2 strings, and then you tie your knot around it. And so that is your basic pamphlet stitch, and it's quick and easy. And it works. So again, I go through the middle and leave enough tail to tie it. I go through the top, then go down through the bottom hole, back up through the middle, and make sure that my strings. Oh, my string came out of my needle, so I put it back in the eye, which is why I like to use the bigger needle, because it's got a big eye and it's easy to put the string in there. And then I just tie a knot. So that's what I continue to do with all 5 of these signatures. So now that I've got all of them sewn in, here's the journal, and it's all nice and neat. There's all the signatures sewn into the journal, and like I said, I did 5 signatures with 5 pages each, so that makes 10 pages because they're folded in half per signature times 2 sides, so that's like 100 pages. And you can see it's not real bulky, so once I add to it, there's plenty of room for it to bulk up. So here's where I decorated the journal. I just put some fabric on here, a couple of scrap pieces of paper, some of the string that was left over from binding the journal, a butterfly, and then I stamped a couple of things on here on some paper and glued them on Journal 2024. So then I decided to go into my stash of embroidery floss and decided to make a spine dangle for this journal. And like I was saying earlier, my idea was I was going to start with Defember Ember in this journal, and then I was going to continue to fill this journal up with mixed media pages. but my Defember Ember ended up becoming so thick and bulked up this journal already to the point to where it looked full before, without even adding anything more to it, that I decided to remove those pages, put them in their own journal, which was in my last video, and then I'm just going to start fresh with this one and do, other mixed media things. So here I cut my embroidery floss to the length that I felt like I needed, and luckily they were plenty long enough. I got this like paper clip that I thought, well, I'll tie it onto that, and that way it'll make a, you know, an, I like to be able to have my dangles where you can remove them if you want to. So I thought this paper clip would work great, and I ended up actually taking it off of this journal and putting it on the Ephemera journal that I made, um, because this is actually one of the prompts, which was friendship bracelet. So here I've got some wooden beads and I've got some charms. And the wooden beads have got like really big openings, so it was, somewhat easy to get the strings in there. And then at first I was going to do a braid, but then I ended up doing like a macrame kind of knotted thing. And I was like, the whole time, I hope I got enough string. I hope I got enough string. Because this takes a lot more string than just braiding it. And it was kind of, that one in the middle was kind of flopping around. So then I got another paper clip and clipped it to make it, so it wasn't moving around so much. And it definitely made it easier. And yeah, and then I tied it to the paper clip because I'm like, okay, it's still moving around too much. And that really helped so that I could do this macrame knotted thing I was trying to do. So basically what I did, and I didn't really even pay attention or count, I just kind of did so many of them until it came down, as far as I wanted it to. And then I put a charm on it, and then I ended up doing some more of these and then put a bead and then some more of these and put a charm. So in any case, yeah, I ended up doing that until I got it as long as I wanted it to be. And so then once I got it down as far as I wanted it, like I said, I untied it. And then here I'm trying to get the strings together so I can put the charm on there. And so I was able to get it on there. I tied it back on because again, it was just, it just made it easier to have that straighter, and then just continued to do the knots for creating this little dangle. And so yeah, that is how I did that. And so this is where the completed spine dangle. Um, this is how it looks like when I'm done with it, adding all the wooden beads and the charms and stuff I want to add to it. And here I'm trying to show you a little bit closer. And then I put at the very end like a little one final bead, and then the front of the journal. And so I appreciate you stopping by and watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.